Good morning. Welcome to the breakfast meeting here on NBS Television. My name is Isabella Tugume. It is Monday. It's a bright and beautiful day. And of course, our discussion this morning is pertaining to the 90 days of oil and mining. Now, 2020 marks the 9 years since the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum has been in partnership with the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development in organizing the annual Mineral Wealth Conference. The conference started back in 2012 with a mission to promote and showcase the potential of the once glorious mining sector. It has since attracted industry experts, policymakers, business leaders, mining companies, banks, among others, through networking, exhibitions and plenary discussions of the latest mining developments, both locally and globally. Now with me in studio this morning is Mr. Aggey Ashaba, the chairperson of the 90 Days of Oil and Mining campaign and also an advisor to the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum, who is equally a member of the Presidential Investors Roundtable on Mining, and of course, Catherine Wabomba, the CEO of Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum, as we look at the upcoming 9th Annual Mineral Wealth Conference. Good morning, Madam Catherine. How are you today?
Good morning, Isabella.
Hello, Mr. Aggey. How are you today?
Good morning, Isabella. Happy to be here.
Oh, it's my pleasure to host you. First time here? First time in our studios?
No, I've been here, but...
this one, next media...
For this particular one, this is the first time.
First time.
But I've been on a tour before with your head of strategy. He'd taken me around.
He took you around? What about you, Ms. Wabomba?
My first time here in this very studio, but well, of course, we've done the other tour around. Yes.
All right.
Well done.
Thank you so much. We take pride in it. Okay, so I'll start with you, Aggey. Exactly how big is the potential of our mineral under the ground for viewers to understand how pertinent this topic is, and of course, how vital the sector is for the country's development and why they should be a part of this particular event?
Thank you, Isabella. Uganda, fortunately, is very well endowed with different mineral resources. As we say, it's still potential because one of the areas that will be addressed at the conference is how do we move from this potential into actual operational mines. But I will say about 80% of the country has been flown to pick the anomalies, geophysical data, and it shows that the country is endowed with an expanse of different mineral resources, from gold to the 3Ts, that is tungsten, tantalite and tin, to the development minerals, which is the sands, the granite, the dimension stones. You have the rare earth elements. Obviously, gold is in the different locations, in Mubende, Namayingo, Buhweju, Busitema. Across the different areas of the country, we have different mineral anomalies that are being investigated, that are being looked at to see how we can move what the data shows us into what would become operational mines. Obviously, we have Kilembe, which is a copper mine that has been abandoned for a couple of years, and is being, the government is working towards revamping it because of the new advancement into battery minerals and how copper is going to become probably a major player in the near future. All these will be part of the conversations that we shall have during the Mineral Wealth Conference. However, we also have things like vermiculite. We have like I said, the rare earth elements. All these are distributed across the different locations in Uganda. And why is it important that we are spotlighting the mineral sector to Ugandans? It is because we believe that as it has transformed other countries, if you look at countries like South Africa, you look at countries like Brazil, you look at China, you look at countries like the US, who have been able to harness their mineral potential for socio-economic transformation, we believe as Uganda, if we take the right steps, if we be able to have these conversations at an early stage, we can be able to also move in the same direction. Obviously, we are calling upon all the different players, but also to spotlight the fact that because we are still at the mineral potential stage, we need to attract capital. We need to attract good companies or junior mining companies that can be able to come and invest in exploratory activities, to be able to quantify these reserves and tell us that the conversation is commercially viable, that the conversation is fruitful and profitable, so that the country, Ugandans, and all the other bigger investments can be able to converge in Uganda and try to enhance and grow our mineral potential. It is outside of this that we as Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum are pioneering this conversation to try to draw the attention both from government and private sector, but also to do the bridge so that we manage the expectations of both sectors, of both parties, private sector and the public sector, to have this conversation, to look at these minerals and also to decide which minerals do we need to focus on as a country. Where can we extract the most value? Which minerals can be easy to add value to? Because as probably we shall be discussing, the focus areas will be on mineral value addition, but also working towards the mineral value chains. So the purpose of spotlighting this is to make sure and to make aware of Ugandans and even the wider public that there is potential in Uganda. Let's look at it, and we will probably extract the maximum value that we can from our mineral resources.
All right, let me quickly go to Kathy. This is the 9th annual Mineral Wealth Conference that you're organizing. Briefly talk to us about it. What makes this particular year, stand out from the first time you organized this particular conference?
Thank you so much, Isabella, and good morning once again. Like Aggey has mentioned, we have been at this, and like you rightly said, we have been at this from 2012. This year specifically, and whenever we organize these conferences, we look at the pertinent issues that are happening in the sector in that particular year. Now, this time when we sat and we were trying to look at what we should discuss, we realized right now what we have in the country, there's a ban on export of raw minerals. And we did some, with Lydia, we did some stories, which you must have watched on NBS, a ban on export of minerals to try and encourage value addition. So when we start to craft what should be the focus of our discussion this year, we said, now we need to focus on that value addition. So the theme of our conference this year is mineral value addition and then the future of mining. Why mineral value addition? We need to, like Aggey has mentioned, we need to spotlight what we need to do as a country to try and add value. If we are saying we cannot export raw minerals, what is it that we need to do to try and add value to our minerals? So we will have a full day of discussions on mining. It sounds ambitious, but yes, we are intentional about trying to educate the country about what we have as a country, because we are a rich nation, yes, but largely at exploration stage. And now we have a ban on export of minerals to add value. But what are we adding value to if we do not know exactly what we have? Yeah, so our guest of honor is the president, who is very, very passionate about the mining sector. And it's a directive of his that has banned the export of raw minerals. So we'll have a discussion with him to tell, when the investors sit, the sector players, the Ministry of Energy, the Ministry of Works, we want to look at what is that we need to do as a country to try and get maximum value from our minerals. So is it premature for us to ban export of raw minerals, or is there anything that we can do to try and add value to the minerals that we have? So we will have, of course, the Ministers of Energy, both the full Minister, Honorable Dr. Mary Goret Tutu, will be there to close our conference. But then we also have a discussion with the State Minister for Mineral Development. She has, I think since she assumed her office, she has taken time to do inspections around the country. So she will tell you, when we sit with her on Wednesday, she will tell you what she has seen as the status on ground, what needs to be done to move from where we are to where we need to be as a country. Because we all know that minerals are a backbone for industrialization. We're all moving towards industrialization. We have the minerals that could actually help us get there. But what is that missing link? So when we sit on Wednesday, that full day, we want to look at all the issues that are hindering us from getting maximum value from our minerals. But then we also have experts in different fields, the mining laws, mining lawyers. We have the World Bank recently did a study on the shift from the shift in the need for the green energy minerals, which we happen to have as a country, but as potential we haven't quantified. So we will have experts from the World Bank also coming to talk to us about the future of mining, where the study they have done across the whole world to try and see where we are seeing the shift. So yes, we'll have a full day of discussions, and we urge everyone who has interest in mining and who has interest in seeing what we can do with our mineral sector to tune in on that very day.
All right, so let's look back at the 9 years that you've held this particular event. What are some of the milestones you've achieved or the sector has achieved through this particular platform?
Yes, when we started off with this, the Mineral Wealth Conference, it was largely an ignored sector, the mining sector. So what we started off was a meeting with actually the head of state. So we gathered all our members who are different sector players. We said, as a country, we believe if we focused on some of the minerals, there's a chance for us to be able to add value, and there's a chance that it can cause a change in the economy. So we have been able to spotlight, really, the mineral potential of the country. We now see mining added to one of the sectors that can add, when you look at the National Development Plan 3, the NDP 3, it looks at mining, which is a very a big achievement for us, because now mining is looked at as one of the potential areas that the country should focus on. We have been able to attract, at continental level, we were able to attract the African Union at one point to bring in all the sector players from across the African continent to come and sit as a continent and look at what are some of the issues that need to be addressed at continental level. Because then even when you realize, when you discuss value addition, you realize you cannot do it as individual countries. So we have been able to at least have that relationship running at the continental level, at a regional level. So when we say we're going to add value, there's where we're going to start from. And of course, our advocacy as a Chamber of Mines. We have been able to advocate for some of the challenges that are faced with the mineral sector, and we see our relationship with the government, between the government and the private sector, then the gap becomes narrow every time that we have these kinds of engagement. So we are proud of the progress that we have made, would say.
Okay. Aggey, should viewers who tune into NBS and will be partaking in this event expect all pertinent issues limiting the mining sector from taking off to be discussed?
Thank you, Isabella. Before I answer, I just wanted to compliment Catherine, is to add that mining has also been added to one of the thematic areas under the Presidential Investors Roundtable, which I think for us is a huge plus, because now it has been given national prominence, is that everyone understands the importance of mining, both as a driver for industrialization, but also through its own linkages into the support of different sectors, like agriculture for fertilizers, like the marble that goes into the whitening for making paint, and the drug industry, and all the things that mining can actually be able to contribute in the different industries, in the different sectors to grow the economy. So for us, we believe that getting this to the head of state, getting it to the decision tables, because even under Operation Wealth Creation, they have added the mineral sector as one of the key areas that they are focused on. So we believe that as a chamber, these are great achievements, and these are things that have brought to the fore the mining, because initially people thought that mining is done by mafias and illegal persons and illegal artisanal miners. But we are saying no, it can become a mainstream commercial activity that is well regulated and can be able to generate the needed revenues for government for socio-economic transformation. But coming back to your question, yes, I think most of the pertinent issues are going to be tackled by the subject matter experts. First, we are speaking about what does the mineral sector mean to socio-economic transformation, and how can we be able to translate potential to actual socio-economic transformation? And we have experts speaking about this, one of which is our chairman for the council, who is the Honorable Richard Kaijuka. He's a former minister for minerals, who also worked for the World Bank and is now an actual practitioner in the industry. So he's bringing that wealth of experience to show us how minerals can be able to lead to socio-economic transformation. We'll be speaking about the mineral value chain and where Ugandans can be able to play. And what are those critical areas that both government and private sector need to focus on to unlock, to make sure that we transform this potential into a reality. We'll also be speaking about the enablers, which is the infrastructure. The roads that connect, for example, we have iron ore in Muko, in the Kabale side, but how do you move it? Because it's quite bulky, it's quite heavy, you can't take it by road transportation. How do we get rail there? How do we get the power into that place? How do we get the different infrastructure bottlenecks that can be able to support these areas? Under the Presidential Investors Roundtable, in our thematic area for mining, we've highlighted the critical roads, the critical infrastructure, and the power transmission lines that need to be constructed to get to these key areas so that it can unlock. Because mining needs a lot of power, It needs a lot of infrastructure developments to be able to unlock it, to bring in inputs, but also to support the movements, the mining and the smelting. So those are things that are going to be discussed. Also regarding the future of mining. And this also translates into where does capital go? Because globally, when you look how the mineral sector keeps on evolving, apart from probably gold, which is a global standard, the rest of the minerals depends on how the economies are transforming. Currently, we have a high demand for battery minerals because of the electric vehicles. We have a high demand for rare earth elements because of precision equipment, because of electronics industry, even the e-vehicles, because of robotics and artificial intelligence, Internet of Things. And we have some anomalies in the eastern part of the country. And we are saying, where do we need to focus? And how can government support what you would call critical or strategic minerals that will eventually become a cash cow for the country? And it's because of how the global economy is moving towards the mineral sector that also capital goes. So how do we tap into it? Do we focus on, say, developmental minerals, which people may not be able to buy, or we should focus on the areas where we think the world is moving to, and they will become valuable minerals as the technology keeps on evolving? So we'll be focusing on the future of that, but we'll also be talking about artisanal miners. Because if you remember, a few years ago, the old mining bill, or the mining law, terms artisanals as illegals. So we are saying, no, these are Ugandans. They are earning a living out of their work. And we believe that through the transformations and what is happening, how do we plug or how do we support them to fit into mainstream mining? So there will be a session discussing artisanals, how they can be responsible in the way they do mining, because usually they use mercury, which is not environmentally friendly, and how they can be trained, skilled, and provided with PPE so that they can be able to mine in a way that also benefits themselves and their families. We'll also be speaking about the legal, operation, and regulatory framework, because currently we're in the process of discussing the mining bill. And this obviously is something that can attract investment or can deter investors from coming through, depending on how your laws are structured and how they can be predictable. So obviously governments are thinking of whether it is enough to only collect mineral rents through your royalties and taxes, or they need to go a step further to see how they can be able to optimize mineral resources through different models and different means. So all these areas are going to be tackled. We'll have subject matter experts, both from the government side, from private sector, and the practitioners, because those three is what should create the environment that should optimize our mineral resources.
All right. Kathy, for the key recommendations that the conference makes, how does your partnership with the ministry see to it that these particular recommendations are addressed?
Well, thanks, Isabella, once again. Like I mentioned, we enjoy a very cordial relationship with the government. And of course, for us to move the sector forward, it has to be a partnership between the private sector and the government. One of the things that many viewers may not even be aware of is, as a Chamber of Mines right now, our role is recognized in the Mining and Minerals Policy of 2018, which puts us at a place where we can always have the leverage to bridge that gap. So recommendations that come up, it's dialogue. We have this platform through which we dialogue with government. So for any key recommendations, we're able to follow them up with government, and government is always positive to try and see how we collectively move this together. So yes, every year we pick our recommendations, and then we take them through that channel of discussions between the government and the private sector. Yeah.
All right. Aggey, what role has mining played in the social economic transformation of countries around the world and in Africa? And could Uganda be among these?
That's a nice question. But also, to be politically correct, I'll give a couple of examples. Johannesburg, that most of us know and have been to, which is commonly known as Egoli, meaning the city of gold, is built off gold mining. And the GDP per capita of Johannesburg is about $16,000. And that should tell you that is actually currently, I think, is the #1 city in South Africa. And it has been built off gold mining. So that shows you that, yes, it's very possible to have actual socio-economic transformation with even just one mineral. But when you go to, say, DRC and you go to Lubumbashi, it tells you a different story. Yet, probably Congo does about 50% of all the world's copper and about 3% of all its cobalt. And it doesn't have the same story as Johannesburg. And when you look at the GDP of Congo, it's about 48 billion. And you look at the one of Belgium, which is 500 billion. And they don't have this kind of rich resources. So it tells you that depending on how you manage your resources, it tells you how you include people in being able to benefit from these resources. It has an effect on how it can actually change the lives of communities, but also the lives of countries. So yes, it's very possible that mining can change a whole country. Unfortunately for Africa, the story is not the same. Is that across the whole African landscape, very many countries rich in mineral resources. Mali, DRC, Liberia, Guinea, Benin, name it. They all have huge mineral potentials and they're actually doing mining, but you don't see the socio-economic transformation. And why is that? It is because they have not had, there's been a lot of pillage of these resources by external forces, but also from fellow countrymen, fellow Africans who are in connivance with other people. However, in the last probably about 3 to 5 years, there has been a movement towards changing of mining laws or mining codes, as they are called in other countries, to try and see that whatever they do now gives them more control on their resources, gives them more control on the revenues that accrue from these mineral resources, and they are attached to the socio-economic transformation of the country. So it's not unique that even Uganda is now revising its mining bill. It has been done across Africa generally, and some of the countries have actually now classified certain minerals as strategic, meaning that the country has a huge say on what happens to them. And then they have also introduced things like windfall tax. Is that if technology shifts to this direction and the prices go up to this side, then they charge higher fees in terms of taxation. So all these models and dynamics are basically geared towards making sure that the African, the Ugandan, the Kenyan, the Tanzanian, and everyone benefits from these mineral resources because they have been God-given. Everyone else has been benefiting apart from us. So part of the things that we shall be discussing on Wednesday is the law that we are that the country is doing and how it is going to support these efforts and to benefit Ugandans in optimizing and maximizing mineral revenue, and through the joining of EITI, which is a transparency mechanism, it will be able to include Ugandans and to show where all the money is coming from, how the licensing is done, how the inclusions and local content, to make sure that everyone is benefiting and the country can be able to grow upon its mineral resources.
There is something that you pointed out. Igoli has become prominent in South Africa based on the fact that Johannesburg has become prominent because of the gold in the city. Is Uganda will it ever become a mining hub just like South Africa through this particular conference?
Well, that is a conversation that we need to have, and in a sober manner, but also to have the leadership that can be able to take us to that stage. And I believe through His Excellency the President, he has shown that he's committed towards making sure that these resources benefit Ugandans. Yes, he has done the banning of the raw materials, but we are saying probably shouldn't be a blanket ban, because even the value addition processes, they may have different stages. And also the conversation should be, where do we extract the most value when we add value? Because sometimes you may want to add value to a mineral resource, which does not make you competitive in the global market. So should you continue to hold it so that it's not mined and exported? And these are conversations we've been having with the people in power, the ones who make the leadership. But just to get back to your question, if you look at Mubende probably has in excess of 100,000 people who have been there because they've been attracted by gold. But there's not been any formalization. There's not been any focus on how to grow that migration and the economic activity into trying to build a town like Johannesburg. So yes, it is very possible, and the conversation must start, and that is why, as the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum, we are bringing these conversations to the table. So that we say that if you have a migration of 100,000 people who are extracting economic activity from a single product, how do you harness that process into building a new town based on this economic activity? So yes, it's very possible, but obviously all hands have to be on deck to make sure that we work towards this, aspire, and have the high ambition to make it work.
All right. Unfortunately, our time is fast, but this was a really interesting discussion. Before I let you go, Catherine, from the previously mentioned partners, how does one partner with the Uganda Chamber of Mines and Petroleum on such initiatives, such as the conference and, of course, other chamber activities?
Well, we operate an open door policy at the Chamber of Mines, so all good intentioned partners in the country are welcome.
When you say good intention, how
it has to be good intention, because, and of course that is also it's subject to discussion. But like I said, it's an open door policy. We welcome every partner that is willing and wants to see a change in the way we utilize our natural resources, both oil and minerals. We are based at Amber House, and we'll share our contacts. You can always reach out to us, and you're sure that with the Chamber of Mines, you have a neutral platform where any issues that are pertinent to the issue, to the sector where we operate, will get that listening ear, like Aggey mentioned, and like you said, we belong to different platforms, including the Presidential Investors Roundtable on both oil and mineral value addition. We enjoy relations with all government agencies, because we realize for us to be able to participate as a private sector, we need to have that close relationship, a very healthy relationship with government, and we try to harness that in all that we do. So we encourage everyone, all willing partners to come on board. The door is open, and we always welcome everyone.
All right, thank you so much for sparing time to enlighten us on this topic. Before I let you go, I'll start with you, Catherine, and wind up with Aggey. What would you like the viewers to take home from the conversation we had this morning?
Yes, this year we've been very intentional about putting out the opportunities in oil and in the mining sector in Uganda. We are running this 90-day campaign in partnership with NBS and Next Media Group. I encourage everyone to stay tuned. And even when they have questions, we have our hashtag 90 Days Oil and Mining on all social media platforms. We have our phone numbers on all the materials that we circulate. We encourage people to come out and let's address the misconceptions that really are in the sector. We are, like I mentioned, we're really open to any kinds of questions, because we have all partners to answer questions that anyone would have in the sector. We want to try and make sure that we are moving as we develop the country and as we develop our minerals and oil and gas sector. We are moving together as a country, and then, of course, information. We don't want to have that information gap when we can have a platform like this one that addresses all those issues. So I encourage everyone to follow our discussions, the 90 Days of Oil and Mining, and then most importantly, on Wednesday, it's a full day's discussion on the mineral sector. Like Aggey mentioned, you realize there's so many challenges that we face, but then it's also an opportunity that we have not tapped into as a country. So we encourage everyone, spare the whole of Wednesday, and let's educate you on what our mineral sector potential is and what opportunities could be there for you to participate in.
All right. Thank you so much, Catherine. Mr. Aggey Ashaba, what would you like them to take home from the conversation we had in under a minute?
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, Africa has been known for the paradox of plenty, but that shouldn't be us as Ugandans. So we call upon every single Ugandan to be able to change this narrative, is that we have a resource, we can harness it, we can optimize it. So we need to work with a lot of high ambition and enthusiasm, great teamwork, to make sure that these resources benefit all Ugandans for this generation, the next, and the next. So the conference, Uganda Chamber of Mines, and what we are trying to preach is for you, and you, and you. Thank you.
Thank you, too. It was a really important discussion, a very nice one we had this morning. The 90 Days of Oil and Mining continue all the way from the 26th of August up until the 26th of November. We continue to have discussions of this nature. And what I've taken home from this discussion is that in case you would like to be part of the 9th Annual Mineral Wealth Conference, it will be streaming live on NBS television. As Catherine pointed out, it's a whole day's event, but also, as Mr. Ashaba pointed out, this particular conference will be there to address some of the pertinent issues affecting the oil and mining sector. Thank you so much for being part of this discussion. I am Isabella Tugume. Good morning and God bless.